Jim Boeheim, I'm sure, is all over what's going on in the NBA, and certainly with Carmelo Anthony and his program. A lot of layers with the coach and maybe even around the golf. And he joins us here on Big Board Sports in Albany. Good morning, Coach Boeheim.
Morning, Roger.
How you doing?
I'm good. I'm in New York City, and nobody likes Phil Jackson down here.
I can tell you that. What is your take on what is going on leading up to Thursday with regards to the Knicks and Kristaps Porzingis, and obviously Carmelo Anthony? Both are right now anti-Phil Jackson.
Well, they're going to move Carmelo. They have no choice after everything he said about him. They have to move him, but there's no. Nobody's going to give him anything because they know that they have to move him, so they're not going to get much. Porzingis, they can get stuff for. He's young. He's got a great upside. You could probably get a high pick and maybe a player. But it'd be hard to get somebody with any more upside than Porzingis got. I mean, he's a tremendous young talent. But the Knicks need everything. They don't need one thing. They need a little bit of everything. They need guard help and, help everywhere, really. And, it's really pretty much of a mess in New York. I don't see how they're going to get out of it, really. Doesn't seem like they can for a few years anyway.
Jim, how much blame do you place on Phil Jackson here? He's taken a lot of criticism, and listen, as a coach, he's won 11 NBA titles, so you can't go down that road as far as his ability to coach, but his ability to run the Knicks and make the right moves. How do you grade him out there? Well,
first of all, it's two different things. You can be a great coach and be a terrible general manager or whatever. I mean, it's two different skill sets, really. Jerry West, to me, is one of the all-time great evaluators and general managers, and he was not successful as a coach. He didn't have the patience for it, and was too much of a perfectionist. But Phil Jackson's one of the all-time great coaches, top 2-3 coaches in NBA history. But that doesn't mean you can be in charge and figure out who to get in the cap space and all that. And the moves that they've made have not worked. That's the bottom line. And they really are not in good position with, Noah being hurt and, what Rose is going to do if he's going to be healthy, and obviously Carmelo's situation, and now Porzingis. So, and the thing people have to realize, even if you get a couple good young players, it takes a long time for young players to impact the NBA. I mean, Anthony Davis is the best college player in the last 5 years, and his team still hasn't made the playoffs yet. Or I think made it once maybe. But, and he's the best player that's come out of college by far, dominant player. So even though there's good talent coming into the league, these guys aren't ready to play against Cleveland and Golden State and San Antonio. They're not ready to play against teams like that, or the Celtics. So the draft isn't going to change anybody right away, even though it's a good group of players in the draft. There's a lot of guys that can play. Tyler Lydon slipped down the draft, but he's a very good NBA prospect. He shoots it, he rebounds it, he runs. He just got to get a little stronger, but he shoots it as well as any big guy in the draft, probably, or better.
What other names, Coach, college-wise, that you've seen that are coming out that you're really high on that you think will be a terrific NBA player?
Well, the top guys all can be probably all pro in 3, 4, 5 years. Tatum, Jackson, obviously I think Fultz is the best player. I think I've seen him a lot. He's the most well-rounded talent. He can do everything. I like him. But, all those guys coming out early are really, really, all those guys are good players in the top 10, 12 players. They're all potentially all lead players in, 2, 3, 4 years, 5 years. But, some of them won't make it, some will. But it is one of the better drafts, I think, in a while.
We're talking with head coach Jim Boeheim from Syracuse, and with us here on Big Board Sports 104.5 The Team, ESPN Radio. And with the trade, the blockbuster trade yesterday, Coach, between the Lakers and the Brooklyn Nets, pretty short chance tonight that the Lakers will go Lonzo Ball, UCLA. How do you think he's going to fit in L.A.?
Well, I think he'll be fine there. He's a good kid. He pushes it up the court. I think he's a really, really professional, high-level point guard, playmaker, push it up the court. My question has always been, when guys have unorthodox shots, they don't transition well sometimes. In the history of the NBA, there's very few guys that have had really unorthodox shots that have been able to make them. You know, I have to go back to Jamal Wilkes, who had a kind of a weird shot, but he made it. But that's my only question with Ball. He's thin. He's very thin. The NBA point guards, these guys are strong. I mean, you know, Steph Curry's gotten really strong. Kyrie, Chris Paul, these guys are really physical, strong kids. So he's got to get stronger. He's got to prove that he can make that unorthodox shot, but he's a good playmaker. And, you know, certainly the Lakers are, I'm sure, going to take him.
Do you think his dad is going to be a big distraction?
No, I mean, the NBA doesn't care about dads. You know, that's not going to be an issue. But I've talked to Steve Alford this spring, and he said he was no distraction whatsoever. The kid's a really good kid. He plays hard. His teammates like him. No, I mean, his father's going to say stuff, but the kid just goes out and plays, and I don't think that's an issue. It's just if he shoots it well, he's going to be really good. But there's some good point guards. I mean, Fox is really a good point guard, and you know, Smith is really, really good point guard. There's some really good players potentially in this draft, but they're all young kids. They're all 17, 18 years old, and what people don't stop and realize is they're going to play against men now. They're going to be playing against grown men who are physical and strong and tough, and it takes a while to adjust to that game. You just don't do it right away. You know, but they're talented young kids, and, you know, they'll help some teams a little bit. But for the near future, you're not beating the Warriors, and if LeBron stays in Cleveland, you're not beating Cleveland, no matter what you do.
Coach, so, back on the Knicks, do you really believe that Jackson will trade Porzingis?
I think if I saw one deal that it had a possibility of him getting Booker and Phoenix's fourth pick. If he got that, he might do it. I don't know. You know, Booker's a really big time scorer, and the fourth pick could be a Tatum or a Jackson. You know, be interesting. I don't know. I don't know if he'd do that or not. I don't know if he's upset with him for not doing whatever it was, the interview or whatever, or what. But I think the key for the Knicks is what if they can get anything for Carmelo, which I don't think they can get much now, but get something for him. They've got to move on. It's almost impossible to bring him back after all that Phil Jackson said about him being someplace else. So I don't know. It'll be interesting. Coach,
have you talked to Melo, and does he feel a little disrespected from Phil Jackson? I mean, obviously the relationship is not great there, but what?
Well, you know, Melo's handled himself tremendously professionally in the whole thing. He hasn't said anything or done anything that wasn't absolutely professional all the way, and I think people in New York appreciate the way he handles it. And, you know, he likes being in New York. He wants to play in New York, but I think it's now come to a point where there's going to have to be a parting of the ways unless something, you know, really crazy turns that around. I can't see that. I just want him to land someplace where he has a chance to win, and be successful. He's got 2 or 3 really good years left. And I'd love to see him get someplace where he can have a chance to win a championship. He won the NCAA championship, and he won 3 Olympic gold medals. So I know he can win. I know he can be a part of a winning team because he did that with us, and he did that with the Olympics. So I just hope it works out for him.
Coach Jim Boeheim, Brian Mariano sitting in with Rodger here on Big Board Sports. We've seen a lot of wheeling and dealing in these super teams in the NBA. What's your position on the NBA going to these super teams?
Well, it's just the way it is. The rules allow that to happen. You can't blame guys to go where they've got a chance to win championships. I mean, Kevin Durant, I'm sure, is the happiest guy in the world right now because he's a great kid. He wanted to win, and he's been a big part of a winning championship. People said that he wouldn't feel that good about winning with the Warriors because they had so many good players. That's nonsense. I mean, he was the MVP of the series, so he feels great. They've got a good group. They're fun to watch. They've got a great coach. They can win 3 or 4 more if they can keep them together, and I think they will try to do that. Try to keep them together. You're not beating them. LeBron's going to try to do something. He doesn't want to finish second. He's going to do something in Cleveland. They're going to try to do something to get somebody there. And if he doesn't, then he's going to look for someplace where he can get something because he wants to win championships, and it's going to be hard to beat Golden State. So we'll see what happens. But that's the league right now. I mean, I think there's going to be a possibility that more of that happens in the future rather than less. I think good players, great players are going to try to get. The league is about superstars. The Celtics have a lot of good players, a lot of good young players, but when LeBron turned it on, the game was over. And the only team he can't do that to is Golden State. And, but even this year, they should have won the second game. They should have been 2-2. And then who knows what might happen. But LeBron doesn't need that much more with Cleveland. They get one more good player there. They could beat Golden State. He's that good.
Hey, Coach, one final one for me. I'll let you go. How about the Orange? How about Syracuse? A lot of SU alums here. What's the climate of your program right now?
I like our team. I think we've got some underrated freshmen. We've got 3 or 4 freshmen coming in that I think are really good, and they're not highly rated because they didn't go to the high-profile camps last summer. But I think they're really good players. I think we've got our 7-2 guy back healthy. I think that will help us. I think our backcourt will be better. We'll be bigger in the backcourt. And I think Tyus Battle's going to have a tremendous year. I think he's going to be one of the best players in the country this year. So I like our team. I think we'll be pretty good, better than people might think.
And it looks like you're not ready to hang it up anytime soon, which is great news for a lot of Syracuse fans out there.
No, I enjoy coaching. I'm healthy. I think age limits are a bad thing in our society. I think if you can do something, you do it as long as you can. I like doing it. If I can do it well, I'll keep doing it. And I don't see an end in sight. And that's a good thing. I'm happy about that. Our recruiting looks very positive for the future, and we're excited about it. We're very excited about next year.
Have you made any comments at all about the Louisville situation?
No, I mean, it's the whole. Obviously, when somebody does something like that, there's going to be repercussions, and I don't believe Rick Patino knew about it, but it still happened. I didn't know about somebody putting quotations in a paper at Syracuse, but it happened. So, we're going to take the hits for it. We took our hits. Louisville's taking their hits. I don't like it, and there's not much you can do about it, but when you go back and say, well, this player is ineligible because of what happened here, now you forfeit all these games and things, and at the time you didn't know he would be ineligible. So it's kind of a hard rule. I don't know the solution, But when you go back and the school or the player didn't, nobody knew that they were going to be made ineligible, and then they're made ineligible, 10 years later? Or how many years later has it been? It's probably not 10, but 7. Then you take away games, and I think that's difficult. I think you have to punish schools, but when you start taking games away, I think it just is something that I don't have the solution for, but I don't like that particular part of the punishment. But Louisville's fine. They'll be fine. They've got good players, and they'll be real good this year, and they'll recover from this.
Coach Boeheim, always a pleasure, man. Appreciate a few minutes. Enjoy your stay in New York, and we'll talk to you down the road.
Thank you.